present scenario, if I say, of the India embracing electricity 4.0, so how can India ensure, what is the current scenario? The first thing. The another thing is how can India ensure inclusivity, particularly in bringing rural and underserved regions into the smart energy? So what would your take on this?
Yeah, there are many steps towards India has to take towards the 4.0. First, already taken by under the PM Suryaghar Yojana, where the 1 crore households uh, to rooftop solar to be installed. Apart from that, behind the meter battery energy storage system to be enabled for the consumer also, so that it will be useful to maintain the grid reliability. uh, During as the solar system or renewable system has a own nature of variability and transmitted, it is forecasting is also difficult for the RE generation. So the battery energy storage system behind the meter will be useful to maintain the grid stability and useful for the utility. The demand response program, that is very useful for the utility for managing the peak. That is the next way forward for the Indian utility to take care of that. EV system, yes, EV charging station is
I think this scheme of the solar power, solar rooftop, solar panel in the rural areas, that will definitely help. Along with that, also the battery energy storage. So that way we can definitely cover the complete population and geographical area of the country. And of course, parallelly also the transmission lines and also the distribution lines going into those areas, that will also bring in the inclusivity in terms of having the power available to everybody. And more than that, I think it's, even if we have the power available, but it is intermittent. It's not, a lot of load shedding happening and also power cut. To counteract that, we have to have the energy storage in a smaller way. And also in the rural areas, it can be a prosumer based model where even the prosumers, the farmers or the village, remote areas, they can also sell power within the community, within the village. I think that's going to happen while we are also taking a big step in the country, having a 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, and also to have that evacuated, delivered to the prosumers, to the load centers. We also have very big transmission corridors being developed, including the HVDC lines are developed. And of course, the battery energy storage is also coming up in a big way. But I think the small form factor battery energy storage, solar, that will definitely help in spreading this and also address the inclusivity in the power.
One concern I see, talking about battery energy storage, down the line, coming years, what will happen to those batteries?
Now getting sort of attention, although so far we have been talking about battery energy storage and using the battery, but battery life, and after the first life, the second life of the battery, I think how they can be also used for different applications like storage and non-critical loads. And as India, I think we are more into the battery, but not in the cell level. I think that is why the PLI scheme by the government is also there for the cell manufacturing, which will form the battery. I think cell manufacturing, and that will also be needing the research and development in the cell chemistry, improving the battery life, having the different type of material used, which will also lead to addressing the sustainability part of it. Although this is definitely better than battery energy storage, better than the burning the coal and fossil fuel, but still it has got, as you said, right, how to dispose it off, the sustainably, the life cycle of the battery, and also after that, what is going to happen. So these are getting now addressed. I hope the government also will come up with some schemes for the second life battery, and also reuse, and how to dispose of in case the life is entirely gone for the battery. So how we can recycle or reuse the chemical part of it, the hazardous substances. How do we dispose of? I think that will come.
If you look at the previous question that you're asking about, the like the underprivileged segment of the society, say people who are staying in the rural segments, right? So nowadays, what is happening, as I rightly said, that and Avinash also focused on that word, like the PM Surya Ghar Yojana, right? So that in itself, it gives a confidence to those people actually who can generate the electricity at the local premises, and they can use it actually. At the same time, the excess energy they can sell it to the grid itself. Right. So there comes the point, like it is not only enabler, they also give a financial benefit to the customer. Right. So, but in order to sell it to the grid, actually, you need a bidirectional meter. So there comes one is like, say in a village, there are suppose say 500 odd villages are there, and suppose imagine all these houses are having their own solar rooftop, so they can form a microgrid of the sort, right? And they can build a cooperative around that point, so that in totality they can form a small cooperative wherein they can sell the energy in totality to the grid, not in individually, but in bulk, right? So that is what they can offer actually at the moment, right? And at the same time, so it is not like whosoever is generating the energy, there is a likelihood that some people may be consuming it, right? So, but when you are in a community, then probably some people who are generating, all are generating and few are consuming. So the when surplus energy, you can sell it back to the grid. So, and that can become a source of income for them. So that is what the government also, or the Narendra Modi government has this feature also, vision also. So, but in order to enable that, you need two things. One is bidirectional meter, like the same meter that can be used to monitor what is the export and import energy. At the same time, you need a trading platform, P2P trading platform, when people they can sell their power to others. So these are the two enabler for them. And second thing, with the smart meter also, what you can do is like you can set the load limits and everything. So say for example, you have a load limit restrictions. Say in a village you find and you have a microgrid scenario, you have a load limit scenario. Then probably with the meter actually you can set that you can maximum consume this much of amount of energy only, or you can draw this much amount of energy, then you'll be set accordingly and you're going to draw more than that, and it'll be a win-win situation for all of them. So this
Okay,
is
so you want to say the meter is going to play a vital role in this whole scenario.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Vijit, twist to the question actually, since TE connectivity is also related to the electrification of railway, working on the electrification of railway. If you can answer this perspective, how the government is going to, provide the electrification, though very little is yet to achieve, more larger than 98% has been achieved. The electrification of railway, if I speak about it. Still, there are underserved areas. How do you see it? Means your perspective, how government has achieved this so soon, and what is yet to come?
Yeah, what I was mentioning is the rail infrastructure growth is very critical factor in India's overall success. And let me get a couple of examples what Indian government is doing. And since TA is very much active in rail electrification, we actually do a lot of the coach building exercise or coach building connectivity inside of the coach with the help of different relays, different power distribution blocks, different connectivity solutions, sensors, and all of that. So we make coach electrified in that aspect. Now, coming to the actual infrastructure electrification, then I can tell there are a couple of initiatives that has been taken is dedicated freight corridors which needs to be fully electrified, then eastern DFC, western DFC, the Vande Bharat expansion, which is 500 plus electric trains by 2025, up from 250. Again, that's a major milestone that's going to happen in the overall rail infrastructure. And one important aspect which I like to mention here is the Kavach deployment. So we are very much active and tracking the overall deployment of the Kavach program and the whole 5,000 kilometers of track with anti-collision system. This whole thing needs to be electrified, and which enables a lot of the solution deployment from OEMs like us to achieve that anti-collision system at least for 5,000 kilometers. And it's the pilot project that I'm speaking of. It's certainly going to get expanded to multitude of that kilometer range to avoid such kind of collision system or accidents that we recently seen. So we are pretty helpful, and also I can see the government is also planning out a lot of new initiatives in freight corridors, in metro establishment, in Kavach, Vande Bharat, and all of that. So we see a very net positive growth, especially on the rail infrastructure.
So the point is like if you look at the general perception about smart meter is like they normally treat smart meter, or rather the meter, I can say, they treat it as an evil part actually, right? So they never consider that this can help them in future also, right? So point is like when we consider this meter as an evil part, then we need to transform their mentality itself. So first thing is that we need to change the behaviors and everything, their mental behavior and everything. So for that, what is happening and how the government of India is taking up this issue is like they are going it with smart meter rollout in phase-wise manner actually. Right, they are progressing smoothly. So then the next part comes is like the customer awareness programs actually. So that is quite essential, especially in this context, because nobody knows, like, or rather, most of the customers they don't have idea like what is the benefit they are going to get it out of this. Ultimately, there was initially some meter was there. It was recording the energy. Now they have replaced it with smart meter. Then the general notion is that smart meter to तेज भागता है, right? So it records more. So that is the national general convention among the users. So we need to show them like why it is not like that. So that is one. That is the part that need to be initiated from the utility itself. It is not because if you look at the smart meter deployment is being done by the AMI space, that is AMI service providers, but hardly they can do anything related to the customer, because customers they are basically with the utilities. So it is what the utility they need to engage with the customers. They have to have a just like in Delhi there are Mohalla clinics and everything earlier. So this sort of community engagement that need to be initiated by the users. But at the same time, second part that is missing at present is an effective mobile application. So if you look at this utility, they are providing their own app, and that app is purely meant for getting their total energy. They cannot get in real time what the energy they are consuming. Right. That sort of information is not available at present context, because there are many integrations issues and there are many systems involved in between. And if you look at the communication capability that is available at present, so in rural segment, you will hardly find a very good compatible cellular network connectivity. So what we are doing, or rather the utility they are going for a hybrid approach. So wherein the areas where the cellular connectivity is good, they are going out for the cellular meters, and where the connectivity is not good, then they are going after RF communication. So where the meters are forming a mesh network, and from there actually they are giving the data to the HAS system. So that gives a level of certainty that yes, the backend system they are getting the data in real time basis, not real time, it is near real time actually. Every 15 minutes or 30 minutes depends upon the utilities requirement, it sends the data. But even that is also okay actually. If you look at if I get a notion that in last 15 minutes I consume this much of energy, so that is good enough. And then the second thing that is also needed is like how am I comparing, or how my energy behavior is with respect to my neighborhood. So there is no comparison, like what benefit I'll be getting out of that. So that sort of information is also not there. So suppose say in future, utility tries to introduce any kind of demand response program. So point is like there is no incentive as of now declared for those consumers who will be participating in that program itself. So if at all any incentive has to be provided to them, then probably the consumers will be happily opt into that programs and they'll get the benefit out of that. So these are the takes from my side. Like in order to effectively engage the customers, it has to be the discounts push, even the regulatory push is also needed, and the technological push is also needed.
First, I would like to address the first question, uh, that what happens of the battery life. So, in as per the our SLA, the after 12 years, the battery capacity remains 70%, right? So, Ramonji already covered that part, that the secondary application may be used for this battery. Then coming to the dispose of or recycling, we can say recycling of the battery. So in India also there are some places where the recycling opportunity is available, and the earth metal and carbon can be segregated from the battery, and it can be reutilized for the development or manufacturing of the another set of the battery. Of course, the policy and regulation frameworks to be discovered so that it can be streamlined. So, coming to the smart meter utilization, so as a perception created that it is running, recording more energy and all these things. So that can we have to demonstrate the benefit towards the consumer side. How we can do? We can say that if we can take the example of the Delhi, here there is some incentive for low consumption, like up to the 200 there is no electricity bill, up to the 400 there is 800 rupees discount. So we can give the insight of their consumers consumption, and based on their real time availability of data, they can manage their load to get or incentivized as per the tariff decided by the commission, right? So the better insight can be given to the consumer for utilization of the smart meter data.
The challenges are also basically the investment and then how the return on investment, especially for the utilities, for the industry, if they go for some energy transition or even energy storage or even the smart metering, what we are talking about. I think the return on investment is very important, although the technologies are there to implement. And technically, yes, these technologies do give benefit, but that has to be monetized and that has to be put in the right perspective. I take this simple example of smart meter, what already Avinash ji talked about, Gopinath also talked about. I think here the main thing for the consumer or prosumer is that how the monthly energy bill is coming down with smart meter. I think there are two scenarios here. One is that this can help in reducing the wastage of energy in the household, for example. Yeah, with smart meter, with real-time monitoring, I think that is one thing. And also some AI-based application can be there, which will also detect any equipment, devices, appliances which is on, which is not required, and then automatically. So that those type of application will also can be built based on the smart metering and that infrastructure. The second thing is. When people go for solar and then the storage, it will also help them to realize by selling the energy back to the grid or to the peers. So then they will see that every month their energy bill is coming down. So that's the most. Of course, we are not talking about here people who do a little bit of manipulation and then they are afraid of it. But many of the general public is also afraid because suddenly because it's like electronic thing, and then suddenly it gives a more energy bill because of whatever way faulty meter or whatever. So that's the fear. I think some examples of this with monthly energy bill, how it is reducing the smart meter, that has to be promoted, shown. That way it will be there. And then the same thing applies to technology, applying the technology, whether it is the solar and also the transmission HVDC technology, and also advanced distribution management system, the utilities. So everywhere uh, the benefits are there, but somehow it is not reflected properly. So that's why people are not ready to invest. They are looking for ROI, but then they are not sure whether to give return. So I think these are the things, challenges which we have to collectively solve.
Feel like there is one more challenge. What I think is that there are a lot of integrations happening in between multiple systems actually. So if you look at the integrations and interoperability, there is a such limited number of standards available in India. Like two systems need to be integrated, so they are not standardized as of now. So what I feel like the regulatory or the bodies that is involved in that, they need to come up with this approach, like to standardize all these things before begin with any kind of programs.
See, here in standardization, what happens, government also policymakers, they don't go for outright standardization because that will be very rigid. Then the flexibility will not be there. So they always seek for inputs, they give guidelines. Once there is the experience in the industry, that everybody knows that, okay, these are the things which can be integrated, this is a platform, these are interfaces, and this is how the guidelines can be converted to a standard. So standards always start with some guidelines.
Right.
And they get the experience, and then with the experience from the consumers, for all the stakeholders, then they convert that to standard. Outright jumping into standard, people also complain that, oh, this is too rigid, it is not possible, it's not feasible. It is expensive.
Like the smart metering program that all started in 2021.
Mm.
And now CA has floated a guideline stating that this should be the interoperability guidelines actually. So after 4 years, they are publishing this. So what will happen to those already deployed or something like that? So
Yeah.
that is again a question mark actually. So all these points are there. These are real-time problems that will again come and go.